good?
Yep.
All right. So, hi, I'm Jordan. I am an intern here at the Center for Diversity and Inclusion. I'm a graduate student finishing up my master's program in Student Affairs in May.
Okay. Why are transgender people and individuals being targeted or more likely to experience harassment or violence?
All right. So, it's a little bit of a complicated issue. Part of it definitely stems from xenophobia. Um, when people have an irrational fear of people that are different than them, um, there is a tendency for people to lash out in violent ways. We also are currently in a difficult political climate. There's a lot of negative rhetoric that comes out of the administration. Certainly, there's a lot more that could be done to support the transgender community. Um, However, institutionalizing things like transgender bans on military service it certainly creates a culture where transgender people are seen as lesser, and amongst the groups that support the administration, the more fanatical groups, that is, um, amongst them, uh, they have been incensed by the words of the administration and have essentially almost been pardoned to be able to do whatever they want, and that is why we're seeing that there is a 15 to 20% increase in reported transgender hate crimes every year.
Okay. Have you had any friends or known people who have experienced hate, discrimination, or intolerance because of their gender identity?
Absolutely. So one of my friends in my undergrad, he is a transgender man, and when he came out to his family, he was the oldest of three children, and his parents told him that he was not allowed to speak to his younger siblings outside of family events, and even then, it had to be specifically when supervised. He was told that anytime that he was living under their house, he had to wear dresses, go by his birth name. He was not allowed to interact with extended family outside of the conditions set by his parents. And if he didn't comply, they were going to cut off any financial support for him. And due to their socioeconomic status, he was ineligible for financial aid in college. So he would have essentially been paying for everything on his own, and that created a lot of psychological issues for him, including multiple attempted suicides, and frequent visits to counseling, increasing his dosages of anti-anxiety and depression medications. The things that people say have a lot more impact than what they think will have. fortunately for him, now that he has graduated and he is living his best life far away from his family, he is able to express himself openly, and he has been able to reduce the dosages of the medications he was on, because his depression and anxiety, due to how his family has treated him, has lessened now that he's not in that situation anymore.
But that's wonderful to hear.
Yep.
Okay, what can be done to stop the violence and even like these opinions and perspectives on like trans people such as your friend's family?
So a lot of it's going to be education, talking about it. Far too often, these conversations don't get brought up necessarily openly. Usually they're hush-hush, and in a lot of scenarios it's still very taboo and scandalous. Fortunately, we're now seeing a rise in positive media, and a great example being the reality show I Am Jazz, that follows the life of a young trans girl who actually went under genital reconstruction surgery, gender reassignment surgery as well, to match her gender identity. So having stories like that be more normalized, it is definitely shaping society for the future, and even amongst the students that I see on a regular basis, things are changing. The youth of America, of the collegiate world at least, are appearing to become more and more accepting of the trans identity.
Okay, it's good to hear. Do you think there is a fear of reporting when something does happen, like when there's a hate crime or some kind of incident that happens?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this fear of reporting, it exists far beyond just transgender hate crimes, but to hate crimes, physical, sexual assaults as well. It's it's definitely a real fear, because it's always possible that the person that you report it to may not take it seriously. It may get swept underneath a rug, considering all of the scandals that have come out in the last couple of years, such as the issues with the Catholic priests in the last couple of years, the issues out in the Midwest with sexual assault with a university doctor. Those were all scenarios in which reports weren't taken seriously, and things were swept under the rug. But people are watching more closely now, and while maybe the person you report it to may try to sweep things under the rug, or try to convince you that it was your fault, I think there's always more people out there that are willing to listen to a story and become your advocate. And that can change how the entire scenario goes down.
Okay. What can cisgender allies do in order to help?
So cisgender allies, the most important thing is being there and listening, and just giving the trans community the opportunity to have their voice. And one of the ways that I believe and have been told by several of my trans friends is that very often people tend to misgender. People who mean absolutely nothing to the person that is transgender. They don't know this person's gender identity, and usually it's done on accident. But having the conversation about if somebody misgenders you, should I say something? And what that kind of looks like, I think that will go a long way, because not everyone is comfortable with correcting people. And in some scenarios, it can be potentially dangerous. So having an ally that is there as a support, regardless of what that means, would mean the world to people.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Be kind. That's really what it is. It takes $0, just about zero effort to be kind. That's it.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.